Hi, I'm Elaine Coventry. I'm a registered social worker and a health promoter with the Essex County Nurse Practitioner-Led Clinic. Today I'm going to talk about stress. Stress is a common experience we all have. We experience it and complain about it a lot. So today, as we walk through, I'm going to talk about indicators, what tells us stress is present, and talk about what we can do about it. We tend not to pay that much attention to stress. That is, of course, until it builds up. Some of the common signs that tell us stress is present include headaches, fast heart rate, feeling on edge, and muscle tension. Indicators related to stress that we might not realize include difficulty concentrating, short temper, and feeling generally agitated for no good reason at all. Stress can also lead to feelings of anger, frustration, and nervousness. Knowing how to work with stress, understanding our triggers, paying attention to the levels of stress, and knowing what works with us so we can reduce it is really helpful. The word stress is a biological term that identifies our natural, normal response to stressors, any demands made upon us. Since we can't get rid of stress and life demands, it just makes sense to work with our natural stress response. Working with stress instead of against it is really the key to reducing stress, and it can be really simple. Identify stressors, the emotional, physical, and mental factors in life that trigger stress. This prepares us to respond more comfortably and interrupts old patterns that may increase the stress we feel. We naturally use a lot of ways to reduce stress: yawning, fidgeting, or moving around, stretching, holding on to something comforting like a warm beverage, and other self-care strategies like curling up or stretching out on the couch. We also interrupt stressful thoughts by talking out loud and sharing our feelings. Integrating these small things into our everyday life help us to feel better in the moment and prevent us from getting overwhelmed through our day. If you're anything like me, you might pretend that stress doesn't exist and push it aside. But this is how stress sneaks up on us and builds up so we feel overwhelmed. Pay attention to the people around you, how they interact, react, and what they notice. When we don't realize stress is building, the people around us typically do. People will notice cues about you that tell them you might be feeling stressed. You might notice them asking you if you're okay, if there's something wrong, or if you need help. This is a great time to do a self-check-in. Notice what's happening in the body, let it know that you're listening, paying attention, and responding to the stress response. This is a good time to stretch and take a couple deep breaths. A simple but effective way to work with stress no matter where you are or what you're doing. The more stress we feel, the larger response we're going to have to it. So when everyday demands pile up or we face bigger challenges, it can feel as though we're dealing with a more serious threat. It may not always feel good, but stress really helps us to respond to the world around us. We're naturally designed to respond to stress, and change and stress go hand in hand. Stress helps us to deal with new situations. Change is one of the most significant stressors we have. Change during the pandemic can have a big impact on the way that we feel. Change often evokes a psychosocial stress, a psychological and social response to stressors. This type of stress happens when we face issues or challenges in relationships with people, places, and things. Indicators of psychosocial stress include feeling a lack of support, isolation, loss of or a disconnection from people, places, and things that we're familiar or comfortable with. Living through a pandemic with extreme and ongoing change can trigger psychosocial stress. Even though we know changes are meant to keep us protected, many of us may still be feeling stressed. Physical stress is about a physical response in the body. This type of stress can be as simple as a toothache and as complex as a sudden urge to get up and do something different. The body responds by urging us to pay attention and to do something about it. Common stressors that lead to physical stress include dehydration, fatigue, hormonal imbalance, infection, injury, lack of oxygen, intense activity, substance abuse, and one we don't think about as stressful, a lack of physical movement. You know that uncomfortable feeling we get when we've been sitting or lying around too long? Stress tells us it's time to get up and move our bodies. We commonly believe that psychological stress involves the external factors in our life. Even though external factors do influence what we think and how we feel, psychological stress is internal. It involves emotional and mental stress. Some of the most common ways we become psychologically stressed include negative self-talk, like self-criticism, getting overwhelmed by too much negative thinking, not dealing with issues by overthinking or avoiding them altogether, unhealthy attachments, and cutting ourselves off from other people. Anger, fear, frustration, jealousy, and worry also cause us to become psychologically stressed. The lack of access and availability to people, places, and things, and the high volume of change in routines during the pandemic create uncertainty and loss. Feelings of fear, grief, and sadness we experience can trigger psychological stress. The lack of access and availability to people, places, and things during the pandemic, and even our routine, can cause psychological stress. Maintaining and creating connection is a must. Reach out and ask for help, connect with others, and make sure that it happens. One of the biggest contributors to psychological stress is the way that we think about stress itself. Marketing campaigns taught us that in order to feel good, we have to get rid of stress. So we bought into the notion that stress is bad. We learned to believe that if we feel pressure or stress in life, that there's something wrong. The way we're actually thinking about stress can cause us to get really stressed out. Stress reduction activities like progressive muscle relaxation are helpful in reducing stress. But when we work with the way we respond and think about stress, it has a greater impact. We strengthen neural pathways in the brain and a healthier automatic stress response in the body. The stronger the belief that stress is helpful, the better the body gets at being calm when stress does happen. Even though our heart beats faster, our circulation increases, and so on, the body has less need to have a strong reaction or stay stressed, building a sense of control, satisfaction, and all-over happiness. Noticing and taking the time to challenge unhealthy thinking patterns and habits is a great way to reduce our stress. Really effective. Stress is really important to understand because when it's not managed well, it can impact our health. Some of the long-term negative health risks related to untreated stress include digestive and bowel issues like IBS and indigestion, diabetes, depression, and heart and cardiovascular problems. There are many ways that we can reduce the impacts of stress, including high-level or long-term stress. The simple act of planning to reach the goal of having a healthy relationship with stress builds resilience. Challenge negative thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with a gentle reminder that stress is a normal and healthy response. This inspires us to do things differently. Challenging the way we think helps us to create realistic and balanced thoughts, reducing stress. Adopting a positive outlook about change is helpful because it undermines false beliefs that support our unhealthy negative attitudes that cause stress. That doesn't mean pretending everything is just fine. It's about challenging our own negativity with curiosity and respect. Caring for others also makes us resilient to stress. Be compassionate, kind, generous, and nurturing. When we express compassion, we build connection and trust with others and within ourselves, reinforcing that we can handle whatever's coming our way, lowering stress, creating life satisfaction, and a sense of happiness. Learning how to manage your time better is a great way to reduce stress and take control in life. Prevent unnecessary stress by taking control of what you can change and letting go of what you can't. Working with the small things in small chunks of time is empowering. It helps to get things accomplished, making us feel good. Exercise helps us to reduce the emotional intensity that we feel when stress happens. Exercise helps us to have clearer thoughts with less emotional interference so that we can deal with challenges in life with greater ease. Schedule breaks or me time. Make and take the time to have fun, relax, and be social. We all need time to unwind, connect, and enjoy life. Planning ahead will make this happen. There are many tools to reduce stress. I encourage you to explore them and discover what works best for you. Remember, you don't have to go far to find them, and your healthcare providers are always here to help.